Mclaren 750S, Mclaren 750S, Mclaren 750S. You might not be Dorothy, this might not be a pair of bright red shoes, but when you get in the new Mclaren 750S, you're gonna feel right at home. I'm Amanda Klein, and behind me is the 2024 Mclaren 750S Spider. Today I'm going to show you around the inside and the outside of the car. We're going to take it for a drive, and I'm going to show you why this car is so cool, including these awesome doors that open up. The Mclaren 750S Spider is one of the fastest and lightest McLarens to roll off the production line. It's got a twin-turbo 4-liter V8 that's going to get 740 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque, and some of the best-in-class power-to-weight ratio. It's a rear-wheel drive, mid-engine car, and it's better and lighter and faster than 720S in a bunch of ways, but I'm going to show you a little bit about that and then take you on a ride later so you can see why. The 750S is going to start at around $350 for the Spider version, but this one has a bunch of upgrades on it that's added up another 75 grand or so to bring it up to around $420. There are a bunch of expensive upgrades on here. These lightweight wheels are one of them. This Indy orange paint is about 12 grand, and the electrochromatic roof that I'll show you when we go inside is another $9,000, but overall there's a ton of added carbon fiber and other things that help bring the price up. McLaren is all about making things lightweight. They introduced the carbon fiber chassis back in the 80s on some of their Formula One cars, and ever since then it's been a really important part of their production cars. This 750S is very lightweight. It's actually 60 pounds lighter than the outgoing 720S, and it weighs only about 2,800 pounds. Normally, when you have a convertible top such as the Spider, they weigh a lot more because of all the components you need to get the top on and off, but this only adds 108 pounds, bringing it up to just over 2,900 pounds, which is still very lightweight. Inside, they're using carbon fiber shelled seats, and then we have these lightweight wheels that also help keep the weight down, making this one of the lightest production cars. Now we're going to check out the interior of the 750S. That's very driver focused, and if I had to guess, we're going to find some more orange inside. So one of the most important parts of the interior of the 750S is that it's very driver focused, as you can see. Your suspension is going to be over here, your drive modes can be changed over here, so you basically don't have to take your hands off the wheel at all. You have your shifters here, and as you can see, there are no buttons on the steering wheel. But everything that you need is very close to your hand, so you don't really have to take your eyes off the wheel or off the road. And then you have three important buttons over here. Your active arrow button, your launch button, and then there's a cute little kiwi here that's a nod to Bruce McLaren because he's from New Zealand. This little kiwi button is going to allow you to save all of your important settings for suspension, drive modes, all of your favorite stuff, and you're going to be able to press and hold that almost like the memory in your seat, so that when you press the little kiwi, all of your favorite settings will come back and you don't have to change anything. This is what it sounds like to start the Mclaren 750S. The electrochromatic roof that I mentioned is a $9,000 upgrade, but it's actually pretty cool. When it's dark like this, it's catching almost all of the UV rays and just making it darker in the cabin, but when you press the button and it's lighter, it's still catching about 30% of UV rays, so you can keep the cabin darker or lighter, and if you want it lighter but you don't feel like putting the roof down, you can just press the button to make it lighter in here. A 0 to 60 time of 2.8 seconds is impressive, but McLaren also says that it can open the roof and put it away in just 11 seconds, which will hopefully be open by the time I'm done telling you about it. One of my favorite features on the 750S is this new center stack exhaust. It's inspired by the McLaren P1, and look at it. You can definitely feel the heat coming off it. You can probably see the heat coming off of it. It makes it louder, it makes it really cool, and when you have the top down and you have all of these things open, you can really hear the car. There are a few changes on the front and the back of the 750S that make it look a little bit different than the 720, but overall it's just more aerodynamic, and these small changes like the deep part of the headlight, some of the front changes on the bumper have just really made it more aerodynamic, and those small changes add up. There are some new brakes for the 750S. This track brake upgrade is available, and it combines ceramic discs and monoblock calipers that come from the Mclaren Senna system. They have a new booster and vacuum pump that help make braking even better. An important feature that is on the 750S is also the vehicle lift. So you press a button and the whole suspension is going to lift up. I find this really important for when you're going through parking lots or when you're trying to get into your driveway. If you're trying to go over a speed bump, it lifts the whole car up in less than 4 seconds. All right, guys, we are taking the 750S out to give you some driving impressions. It does have 3 different drive modes. We've got comfort, sport, and track. For all intents and purposes today, we are in sport mode. So far, I've been driving this for a few days, and it does have 740 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque, but I've driven a few cars that are that high of power, that high of horsepower, so I'm not used to it. But this one probably has the stiffest steering that I've ever felt, and the brake is like so hard to press. This would be impossible to drive in traffic all the time if I had to say anything about it. But the steering feels like when I'm trying to make a U-turn, I'm like pulling it. It's almost like I'm in an 18-wheeler or something. But otherwise, this is probably the fastest car I've ever driven. It's really cool, it's really orange, and it's been really fun. I've had 2 minor issues with it while I have had it in my possession for the last 72 hours. Earlier today when I went to take it out, I'm not sure why, but it was limiting my speed to 20 miles an hour. I opened all the doors and closed them again to see if that helped, and then I turned it off and turned it back on like your mom would tell you to do with the television, or like you would tell your mom to do with the television. And that seemed to fix it, but I don't know what it was. Then the other day, I could not, for the life of me, get my windows to go up. I had put the top down, and I put the top back up, but the windows just would not go back up. So I had to hop on a forum and see what the people had to say. We figured it out eventually, but I would hate to get stuck with my windows down, basically. So this has a 7-speed automatic transmission. Like I said, it has those drive modes. So your drive modes are going to be up here, which is kind of cool. So you don't really have to take your hands off the steering wheel. And then your suspension modes are over here. So if you want to change any of those at the same time, they have the same settings: comfort, sport, and track. Track mode is pretty crazy. I'm not going to put it in track mode while I'm out on the mean streets of Florida. But hopefully you can hear the engine okay in the back, and maybe we'll put the top down in a little bit and you can hear it. Alright, we got 1 red light, and then we'll see what this thing can do. McLaren said, I believe, that the 0 to 60 time on this is 2.8 seconds. Car and Driver said when they tested it, they had more like 2.3 seconds, 2.3 to 2.7, but this is the Spider. Alright, that got us to 66. That was pretty good. I don't know if I could drive this on a daily basis though. This thing is wild. You might not be able to see it, but it is bright orange, like the color of my dress. So it's not exactly incognito by any means. We are in sport mode, so that was pretty quick, but it's been really fun to drive. I think that the brake is probably the hardest part for me. I feel like I am stomping on my brake, and like the usual cars like this, there's no park, it's just the parking brake. So when I'm sitting at a light, I'm like stomping on the brake. But that's also great for the track mode and stuff like that when you need this thing to stop. McLaren really worked on the steering and the brakes so that it could handle all of this. And from the 720S, they made a lot of changes and a lot of upgrades just to make this faster, lighter, better than the outgoing model, and I think that they did a great job with that. So let's see. Nobody beside me. Maybe we'll try and put the top down so you can hear what the engine sounds like. All right, so the engine on this bad boy, by engine I mean, we're gonna put the roof down. 11 seconds. I can put that window down. All right, let's do it. Yes. My hair wasn't ready for that. All right, so like I said, very fast, very fun. I mean, it's pretty easy to drive. I think the brake is probably the hardest part. It's just so stiff. The steering is really stiff, but I know that's intentional. McLaren worked hard to make it that way. So overall, the 750S Spider has been a joy to drive, and I would drive it every day if I could. All right guys, thank you so much for watching our video on the 750S Spider. We've had a great time driving it this weekend, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments.